Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. So welcome to the show, Nina.
Thank you. We're talking about creativity, so I'm like ecstatic for this conversation. Thank you for having me.
Well, you are definitely a creative, writing one of your first book. It's your first book, right?
Yes.
Amazing. Yep. Well, we're definitely going to jump into that. But I always like to go back to the beginning and what your career was and how that led you into being an author now.
Yeah, it was kind of roundabout, but it really, in life, they say you never do anything that doesn't connect. And I really do believe that, because I was in the travel industry for decades, and, it was a luxury travel. So, I had the privilege of staying at, $20,000 a night villas and, this bespoke, beautiful places in Napa. And in the public relations marketing perspective, I was talking to a lot of people. And at the end of my career, when I started really questioning things, and I knew something was wrong, missing in my life, I started going through what I call a 7-year life tsunami, which put me on a quest. And I started asking women all over the world, like, do you know yourself? Like, are you happy? And so we started getting into some deep conversations, and it kind of started as, just me doing my job, like, how do you like the resort and blah, blah, blah. And, women would say, oh, I don't like this, or this is missing. And then I kept on asking questions, and I came to find out they didn't know themselves. They were unhappy with their lives. They were unhappy with their marriages. Their career wasn't fulfilling. They felt empty, just like me. So it was such a time of mirroring and reflection that I decided, well, I didn't decide, my soul decided, we've had enough. And I went into a full-blown 7-year life tsunami, and everything in my life changed. And during that period, I took time away, and I was journaling everything through these 7 years. And I was still working. I was just working, still in the travel industry, but I was journaling everything, which led to writing the book, because I wrote the book a lot of based on my experience of using travel as an intentional tool for self-discovery versus just a consumptive tool. So that's the briefest way I can share that with you, if that makes sense.
Definitely. I love that. And talk a little bit about the title. It's called Unpack Your Personality. Let your inner guide be your travel guide.
Correct. Again, it's kind of what I learned, because I believe, like, we're here on earth, and, there's a lot of spiritual, I call it whitewashing, going on where, and it's not a bad thing. It's just like people are telling you, you should do this now, and you should do this, and you should do this for a spiritual journey. Well, maybe that's not for you. So that's where the Unpack Your Personality comes into play, because your personality, it really is a focal point for you to start your self-discovery journey. Now, your personality, I always say, you are not your personality. That's why I talk about the unconventional truth of the soul's role and personality type, because you're really not your personality solely. It just indicates, and it gives you like preferences on the preferences and the tools that you use in your life. right? So I'm an extrovert. So I am I welcome the world. Introverts, not as much. They welcome their inner world. So it's how we show up. So people have to understand that first and foremost. And what I've done is I've reimagined it to be more spiritual. So, and I'll just give you this quick example. There's a relationship of traits, and they call it the functional stack, right? And that's just the order in which you use your personality traits. And the first trait, now this was in the 1940s, right after World War II, so it's called the dominant trait. And I just didn't like the words. The words were so patriarchal, they didn't resonate with the times we're in now. So I refer to that as your North Star. It is your guiding light. And this is where let your inner guide be your travel guide comes into, because that North Star is a supportive tool that inner guide, now I call that my divine spark of intelligence. Some people call it the Holy Spirit. Some people call it the God or Goddess, the great I am. I don't care what you call it. We all have this higher consciousness within us that uses our personality type. Right? It uses all the beautiful traits of our personality type to express itself in the world. That's the title of the book.
I know that though. That's like more encompasses the whole thing. And talk a little bit about how maybe you discovered that you want to go down this path. Maybe some people are like, okay, I'm not connecting to this at all. Or what are some questions that are coming up that like you might be asking yourself that are like, okay, maybe you need to explore this more.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think, well, because of course I teach this, so I think everybody needs to fully understand their personality and that inner guide, and how that inner guide leads your life, because it already knows where you need to go. It's here for a soul mission. It's here to fully experience all the beautiful, the playground of earth. Right. And so if you're in your life and you're like, oh, I don't think I need this. But if you're in your life and you're struggling, or you feel like you're constantly fighting yourself, or if you're feeling unfulfilled, or if you have this nagging doubt and you knowing that there's more to you than meets the eye, if you're showing up in the world and you're not feeling like I don't just fit in here, there's all these questions and you're questioning yourself, like, who am I? How did I get here? Is this really all there is? So if you're having these questions, your soul is whispering in your ear, let me show you. Let me show you who you truly are. Let me show you that true self. So if you have any of those questions, you're on the journey already. And it's only your journey to take.
And what are some of the first steps to starting that journey? I mean, obviously the questioning, but now, okay, right. I want to connect with my soul. I want to see if there's more. I want to feel again. So what would be some of the first steps?
I love that question. It's so good. I think the first step is probably one of the most important steps is the willingness to change. You have to have the willingness to change, and you have to be willing to understand that sometimes this change is going to encompass you losing things in your life that you might not want to lose. When I was going through my 7-year life tsunami, as I fondly call it today, I lost a lot. Like, I left my marriage, which wasn't healthy for me. So good thing. My job, my job shifted dramatically. I moved. I mean, it was everything. So there's anchor points in your life that you're going to have to kind of uproot and restart again. So you have to have this willingness to change, and you have to be okay with yourself stepping into the unknown. It's really, really hard for people. So you're at that crossroads, and the biggest thing is the willingness to change, and understanding that when you accept that, things in your life will be brought to you. So you're not alone. You're never alone. That soul within you is an eternal thing that's been with you for lifetimes. It will never abandon you, and it will always put you on the path where you will meet other like-minded souls to help you on your journey. So know that you're never alone. But the first thing is the hardest thing is to say, I'm willing to do this. I'm willing for the change. I'm willing to be curious. I'm willing to open my mind, and I'm willing to think new things about myself. I'm willing to see new truths about myself and let the old truth slip away. And that, my friends, is probably one of the hardest things you'll do. But once you step into that, and it can be ever so slowly, or like me, I was thrown down the rabbit hole. So that's the path my soul wanted to go for me. It's all going to be different, but you have to trust.
And how do you tell the difference between, okay, my soul's trying to tell me something versus my ego is trying to tell me something? Like, I feel like sometimes that's really hard.
That's such a juicy question. Yes, it is hard. And here's the difference. And this is that's so insightful that you had that question. Your soul will never tell you what to do. It will whisper words of encouragement. So it's not going to say, well, you need to do this. It's not going to judge you. It's not going to push you to something and make you feel like, I don't know. Your ego not typically, it always comes from a false sense of self. So usually when the ego is telling you something, there's not flow. It's a struggle. It's a push, right? You're going to feel that. You're going to feel like something's like almost blocking you. It can be ever so slight, but you'll feel it. And once you have this self-awareness, you'll see the difference. And here's a great mantra or journal prompt that I use, and it works every single time. I just say these 4 words: divine, please show me. And then I meditate or get out a journal and I write that down and see what comes up. Nothing may come up for weeks. Something may come flooding, down your path in a day, in a minute. You will be shown, and you'll be shown at the time when it's right for you to take the step. Your soul knows, so don't second guess it. And if you're pushing for an answer, that's your ego trying to help you achieve something. You don't need to achieve anything. You need to flow with who you are. And I know that's very counterintuitive, but it's the truth.
And what about when things get difficult? I know sometimes things are difficult to teach us lessons. So how do you tell the difference between, okay, is this difficult because I'm making the wrong choice, or is it difficult because I need to learn?
Well, I don't think it matters, to be honest. It's difficult, and you can make the wrong choice because you're still going to learn no matter what, right? I made so many wrong choices to the point I was like, this isn't working. I'm still going down the direction, and the circumstances are still happening, and the situations are still occurring that I don't want to occur anymore. So there I made the wrong choice, right? So now I have to go back and make a different choice. It's always learning. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging. Life is not a cakewalk. It's not, unicorns and ribbon candies and milkshakes all the time. It's just not. So, we especially as women, I know when I speak and consult with women, we're so hard on ourselves. We're going to make the wrong choice. Okay. So what? We make the wrong choice. Just know, okay, I made the wrong choice. How can I learn from this? Right? And sometimes, like I did, it was a big wrong choice. Like I married the wrong people. That's a big choice to do wrong, but I learned from it. So even the biggest choices help you learn about yourself. So I don't know if that fully answers your question.
Definitely. Like, it's all about making, the wrong choice, basically. And we're learning all the time. So it doesn't matter, like you said. And what are some common issues you see women facing on their spiritual journey, since you've helped so many people over the years?
Yeah. A lot of women, and this is what my blog post is going to be about actually this week, but it's about learning your truth. I see so many women, they're like, oh, well, I'm not good enough for that. Or they doubt themselves. And they're so wise. They're so creative. They're these like beautiful women. And they're just, the power has been sucked out of them. And so they believe that to be a truth. And that's not the truth. Right? So I see that a lot. I see women doubting themselves, and there's a study, I think by Harvard, business school that like 86%, it's a high amount, don't have confidence. I'm like, what? What do you mean? We just don't have confidence because, in our society, you know, men have confidence because they're brought up to have confidence. Women are brought up to serve, to nurture, to nourish, which is awesome. That's awesome stuff. But we're not brought up to have confidence in the deep belief that what we're doing is true for us. It goes back to truth again. So there's confidence and the self-doubt and the shaming. And unfortunately with our society, and you know it to be true, when you get on Instagram, we think everyone has their life together, and we look at our lives and we say, we aren't like that. So we try to become something we're not. Again, we're not living our truth. It always comes back. You can always ask the question to yourself, are you living your truth? Are you being true to yourself? That's the main root of everyone's problem. That's where the shame comes from. That's where the doubt comes from. That's where they're trying to be somebody else comes from. That's where the lack of confidence comes from. That's where making those wrong decisions come from. We're not living by the who of who we really are. And that's a journey. And I'm telling you, I still don't live that all the time. I question myself all the time. I make mistakes and go, oh, Nina, you're not being your true self. You're not even teaching what you know. Get back into that. But it's funny because once you have an awareness, you wake up quicker to what you're doing. And then you steer yourself, you get back on that purpose path that you're meant to be on. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it definitely does. And
okay, good.
A little bit about, you mentioned about on your website, like we are spiritual beings having a human experience encompassing both physical and non-physical realms. So talk a little bit more about what you mean by that.
Yeah, so we're here, and this is just a belief, and people are going to take that and say she's lost her mind, or people are going to go, oh yeah, I kind of get that because I can feel that within myself. And this is another part of the awakening journey, is that we really are spiritual beings having a human experience. Why I say that is, again, it goes back to that true self that's within you. And that is the bridge to that divine spark within you and your physical, your personality, that logical self. The true self, it helps you build the bridge between these two. So the non-physical is that higher divine intelligence, right? Your higher consciousness that is tethered to the great I am, to all that is, which I call divine intelligence because that's just my personality type. So that's kind of where I gravitate to. But it is that you're in the creative field. Do you know this? It is the flow of everything, the life force energy of everything. It's creating everything. It created us. So you tap into this unlimited creativity, compassion, imagination, kindness, joy, happiness, all the good stuff. So that true self enables us to bring that higher consciousness down, right? It takes a path down through our true selves. Our true selves is an open conduit, which brings those messagings, the things that we're supposed to be learning to evolve our souls, into our logical selves, right? It brings those messages. So then it works very specifically with our personality traits to inspire divinely inspired actions in our life. So instead of coming from a fear-based only perspective, we're coming from this extreme higher conscious level of self. And when you're in that state because you're in a flow state. And you know this because you're a photographer. When you got your Zen on, because things are just zip zapping, man. The lighting's perfect. You're smiling. You got the shot. Everything's just clicking away and you can feel it. That's when you're in your full true state. That's when you're in that Zen flow state. You know that your true self is fully connected now to that divine intelligence, and it's flowing beautifully through into your personal reality through your personality. Thank you, Joe Dispenza, because he came up with that little saying, and I use it a lot. So.
I love credit where credit's due, and
yeah, you got to give it.
We talk a lot about that, about these flow states and creativity. And it's the only time you're completely in the now without becoming like a Buddhist monk or something. It's you're painting, you're writing, whatever. You're just completely here. And it was like you said, tapping into that stream of just good stuff.
Yeah, that higher consciousness. It's where all the good stuff flows. It's life force energy. Everything, if you look at life, everything around it, it has been created. But the stuff that's the most, I think the things that we take away with the most, look at nature. Everyone's like, oh my God, get in nature. Because it's pure creation. When somebody's painting, that's pure creation. It's the purity of creation. It's not man-made creation, which is different.
I like
It's
that.
pure creation and it's flowing through you. Yes, it's coming from you as a human being, but it's not a construct, okay? It's not like, oh, I've got to build this. It's not an ego thing. It's not an ego thing. It's a higher self thing. And that's why some people, you're on their websites and you're like, oh my God, like your smile. I fell in love with your smile. I'm like, oh my God, I love this person. You got a great smile. And
Thank
that's just,
you.
I can feel that zen from you. I can feel that energy from you. So that's what we're attracted to.
I love that. That's so true. Yeah, definitely. And why do so many of us get stuck in this, wheel of not being true to ourselves, of being numb, to getting stuck in routine? I mean, if we're all here to evolve and learn, why do we just become these numbed down versions of ourselves?
Yeah, that's another fabulous question. I think we're all conditioned in what I call, and people might disagree, but that's okay because I want everybody to be true to themselves. But it's a patriarchal paradigm, and we're so distracted away from that, and we're easily distracted because the things here on the planet are very, they're very, what's the word? Almost addictive. Like I know I was addicted to like really cool things. I had the Louis Vuitton, I had the Chanel, I had the Armani. I was so into that consumptive luxury thing. I was in the luxury travel space. So I just got sucked into that. And I found it didn't mean anything. But that was so distracting me. It kept me so distracted from who I really am. That's how that happens. It's just like this consumptive, very alluring, distractive things of the world. Now you can have them, but I believe they have to be a secondary thing to what your soul is here for you to do. And I'm not saying you can't have wealth because that's ridiculous too. We're here to be of wealth and whatever that means for you, right? But I think once we become so distracted and it's overdone and it dominates your life, that's where we lose it. And we're kind of taught that. Look at when you're a young kid, pay attention, do it this way, stand in line. Oh my God. As a kid, I was just like, oh, I was bad in school. I was not, but and I kept on getting corrected. Like, you can't be curious. You can't ask questions. It starts at a very early age. And so we're not aware of it until we become aware. And then that's when all the stuff hits the fan and we're like, oh my God, I can't do this, but you can. Just know you can.
I
No,
love
it's
it.
available.
Yeah, no, it's so true. No, you can. And how would you define creativity in your own words?
Oh, for me, creativity is spirituality. We come from the great creator. I mean, creativity doesn't get any better than that. So I believe it's a form of spirituality. And I believe when you create with the intention of servitude for others, it becomes unstoppable because that's such a pure creation. Even though it has your fingerprint on it, it has your soul fingerprint on it, which is really exciting. And so it's pure. It's coming from that pure, beautiful, compassionate, imaginative, joyous, empathetic state of love. And that is, to me, is creativity at its purest form.
I love that. And talk about how can we hold on to the joy from creating once we start making money from it? I know a lot of times once we start having people pay for things, maybe sometimes it doesn't have the same creative feeling or the same energy.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that, again, comes back to our conditioning because I thought that too a lot. And what I'm finding now is like, it's almost like a reward for being so pure to yourself. Like you haven't succumbed to somebody else. You're being original and true to yourself. So why wouldn't you reward yourself for that? Why wouldn't you have pride in yourself for that? I don't know if pride's the right word, but have the love for yourself that what you're doing is bringing joy to other people. So why wouldn't you be compensated for that? And if you're in servitude, it's a whole different thing. And I get into that a little bit now. I'm really starting to it's called sustainable prosperity. You know, yes, you're here we have to make money. We have to live in the world, right? But sustainable prosperity is, yes, making money for yourself, but always having that servitude and a give back mentality. How are you giving back? Because when as well as I do, isn't it fun to give a gift? Well, isn't it fun? Like when you start making a lot of money, like my book, proceeds of my books helps kids in the United States plant trees. I want kids to understand how important the earth is, and how when you travel to be respectful of it. So through my book, I get to do that, and that excites me because I'm giving kids an experience to go plant a tree.
I love
That's where it gets, that's where it gets fun, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the joy gets extended, because it's not just about you. It's about you and who are you serving? Like, who are you serving in your community? And look, like, I don't know where those trees will go. That's legacy. I'm planting trees all over. That's legacy for me. That's legacy building. That brings me joy because I know I get to help a kid plant a tree.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's full circle.
Yeah, there you go. I love that full circle. Absolutely.
And talk about some of the best resources that have helped you on your creative journey.
Well, to begin with, my mother, she was highly, highly spiritual. Like, she used to, I know, I would sit at the desk, do my homework, and she would be talking to her sister. And she'd be talking to her sister about, and her other sister who had passed on, and her brother who had passed on. So finally, I think I was like 9 or 10. I go, Mom, you're talking to Aunt Stell and Uncle Wally, but they've passed on. They haven't been here for years and years. She dog patted me on the head. She goes, oh, honey, just because you can't see things doesn't mean they're not real. And I was like, oh, that has stayed with me my whole life. So she started my journey. And then I had the complete joy, speaking of joy, of working with Dr. June Lee Nix. She had a PhD in psychology, but she was also a spiritual psychologist back in the day. And this was before this was even a thing. And she worked with me for like 3 to 4 years and just really worked with me. And she helped me develop this concept of the soul's role and personality typing. So she was really integral. So, get a mentor. You can't do this by yourself. I'm telling you, get a mentor, get a coach. And don't just get any coach. And I don't even know if I want to use that word, but find somebody, find a mentor, find a coach, find a teacher, and read books. I constantly read books. One of the books that I'm reading, it's very, very heavy, but it's called The Mystics of the Far East. And it's a very heavy read about when you're so tapped into that higher consciousness, you need nothing. You don't need food. You don't need anything. I mean, it's pretty deep. So, but I've read that. I constantly read. I'm constantly on a spiritual journey, reading books. And we discussed beforehand. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. I've read Neil Donald Walsh. I'm kind of into the old school. Well, my hair is gray, so it's old school. But Louise Hay is fabulous. If you haven't heard of Louise Hay, so some of the old school books, Carolyn Meese is good. There's just continue educating yourself by reading, by hanging out with people that are on the same wavelength as you. And don't worry, there's going to be naysayers, and that's cool because you'll learn from them. So it's not a negative thing ever. It's always, I can learn from them. What can I learn?
I love it. Yeah, no, it's so true. Someone can always teach us something, even if we don't like them.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true.
And so unpacking your personality, the book you've written, talk a little bit more about, so people can go through, they can take the test and kind of figure out, what they should be doing, where they should be traveling.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So, and the reason people they're like, why didn't you, I get a lot of readers, why didn't you put a test in there? Because so many of the tests that you take online, even one from Myers-Briggs, not always accurate, but you do have to know your personality type. And of course I do consultations on that because I do a lot of corrections. Like, they're almost there, but I'm like, this isn't there. And they're tweaking because, being off by one of those archetype letters is a big deal. So you don't want to do that. But when you get in the book, and there's prompts in there a lot. There's a lot of reflection questions. So when you get in the book, I first talk about, of course, I'm going to talk about the illusions of travel. We're just taught to consume. No, maybe not. Maybe if you look at travel as a total learning experience for self-discovery, you'll travel differently and you'll learn something about yourself, small steps, right? And travel's fun. So you're more open to it when you're traveling. You're away from your home environment. So you're more open to learning about yourself. You're open to stepping into the unknown. You're going to challenge yourself. You challenge yourself already. So get into that aspect of it. And I give journal prompts in there and I show you ways to do that when you're traveling. And then I also show you, best places for your personality type. I am going to tell you this right now. I'm not going to get that all right because, like I said earlier, you're not just your personality type. Your soul has a big influences and your life experiences heavily influence you as well. So I'm only accurate from the foundational aspects of personality type. But if you get into the book, it just gives you a new perspective. And that's what I want to help you do. Just build a new perspective. Yeah. Learn about yourself. Become true to yourself. Open your mind up to know that you're a much more than you think you are right now.
Yeah. And I think those prompts are really helpful because kind of makes you realize you can look at your thinking patterns and be like, oh, what have I been telling myself all these years?
Yes. Yeah. And it's more than just mindset. People go, it's a mindset, like shift your mind. Well, where are you going to shift it to if you don't understand yourself? Mm-hmm. And people ask me a lot, where's your why? And I'm like, well, if you don't know yourself, you don't know the who of who you are. How do you know your why? So we have to be really careful when we get into this stuff that we know, a lot of the stuff that we're hearing from the spiritual community these days might not be true for you. So just be aware of it. It's an awareness. Just be aware.
I definitely agree. And where can people pick up the book and connect with you?
Yeah, everything. I'm on Amazon right now, and there's a lot where books are sold. I'm on Apple. You can go to Barnes and Noble. I'm on all of the things. It's digital for right now. Because I did self-publish. Long story, but that could be for another time. I'm very proud of what I did. There's a lot of references and resources in there. So people have a lot of resources to go to. So Amazon and my website, ninazapala.com. And I'm everywhere at Nina Zapala, except for YouTube. It's at Nina Zapala, ENTP.
Wonderful. We'll share that in the show notes. And guys, check it out. Unpack your personality. Let your inner guide be your travel guide. I think it's a great book. And thank you so much for sharing with us today.
I so appreciate you, and don't ever stop smiling.
I'll try not to. Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.